On today's edition of Cairo Local Time, and of course, as promised earlier today, we have a very sporty episode in store for you. I'm delighted to be joined this afternoon in the studio by my guest, Major General Ahmed Nasser, the President of the African Associations of Sports Confederations. Thank you very much, Major General, for coming in this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Angie, for having me here.
Indeed, sir. Now, Egypt has won the right to organize the 2019 African Football Cup of Nations. Was this an expected win when Egypt bid, in your opinion?
Well, let me first explain something very important, that to win such a tournament, first of all, you have to have the will of the government,
yes,
and the interest of the government.
And the support of the government.
Of course,
yes,
will, interest, and support. If the government doesn't support that, it means that there is no tournament. So then it has to be a very hard work from the federation, which has been done leading by Engineer Hana Bourida, and was, as we say, always lobbying by him and some others, by his lead. And it was luckily that we could be able to beat South Africa, because South Africa is not easy also, as they hosted the World Cup finals before. Well, the matter of fact also that you have to have the stadiums are ready, you have to have the system is ready, you have to have the #1 player of all games is spectators are ready, and so on and so forth. Well, I'm glad that we're luckily have the Minister of Youth and Sport is very much acquainted and aware of that, Professor Ashraf Sobhi. As the Minister of Youth and Sport, he was luckily to be the Deputy Chief of the International Cairo Stadium for some years, and he knows what's going on in there. He knows how is not only, of course, the International Cairo Stadium, but I'm talking about the experience with the stadiums and the football and so on and so forth. He is, the matter of fact, was studying before we even bidding for that. How can we get the audience in there fully? How can we relate that? How can we get out of the experience of the other nations, like the African Cup final, the World Cup final in Russia, and so on and so forth. So I think I think Egypt will do one side of a competition. It's going to be unforgettable, starting with the audience, ending with, inshallah, the
victory, indeed. Now, Major General, let's talk a bit about the preparations. As you mentioned, the top thing that really makes any football match or any competition successful is the spectators. So you said there's a new system that they're going to follow when it comes to ticketing, matching specific criteria to the ticket sales. Tell us a bit more about this.
Well, security and safety is the most important thing for the audience and for the whole matches. And this is what means to the copywriter, which is CAF. CAF, when they give the organization, it was not easy, of course, because, as I said, South Africa was a very hard competitor. But in the meantime, for voting, you can see that the majority voted for Egypt, which means that Hana Bourida has made a very, very, very good lobby for that, and could be able to convince the people with Egypt, especially that we were having this kind of that we don't have a lot of spectators in the matches and so on and so forth, but there was the promise that is going to be really a good system to be able to accommodate this competition, which is true and fact that we are already working with this, studying this system since quite some time ago, and I'm sure that's going to be implemented and try it for even very soon, to relate the ticket with the seat, with the reservation, with the ID number, with everything. For the people coming from abroad, it will be related to the passports and so on and so forth. This is what I assume. I'm not saying decisions as yet, but the decision will be, of course, the government decision in cooperation, of course, with the Egyptian Football Association.
Let's talk a bit about our capacity and our facilities. The Egyptian stadia are in good condition. They are ready to host these games. We're talking about 24 participants this time round. We have a great stadium, like for example, Burj Al Arab Stadium is one of the biggest and most well equipped. Tell us a bit more about the facilities and the capacity of the Egyptian stadium.
Well, I'm not entitled to talk about the facilities, but as an Egyptian and as a sportsman, I can talk about that. But I'm not entitled to talk about this. The most important person to talk about this, of course, the Hannah Bourida or any of the members of the Egyptian Football Association. But what I'm saying is that we have facilities, but of course it needs some adoption and some fixing and some to accommodate with the system that we are saying. It needs some add-on and so on and so forth. But I have no doubt, since the government has proposed the interest and give the interest and the support, that is everything will be all right. Especially also that the people doesn't know that the Prime Minister also is one of the former handball players. So he has also the background of being a sportsman. So I understand what's going on.
As a sports person, I'm asking you, in your capacity as a sports person, 24 teams up from 16 teams before. What does this mean? Does this mean higher competition, or does this mean greater difficulty for a specific team to win? What does this mean in your opinion?
It means a lot. It means, number one, a lot of more challenge. It means that you have to enjoy more because you will have more teams, give more teams the opportunity and the chance to compete in the biggest competition ever for CAF, which is the African Cup final. It gives the opportunity for the teams to try to be qualified also for the World Cup finals through the continent as well, with measuring how good they are and everything. It gives the opportunity to the audience to enjoy more matches in Africa. And you know how strong Africa is, because we have seen the World Cup finals, and the French team mostly are black Africans. You know, what I mean is black Africans are black Africans.
Really
so we were very proud of them, of course, to be able to win such a big one, even with the nationality of French or German or whatever. So Africa is a big challenging football continent. Whether with the audience, whether with the players, with whatever. I mean, and let me tell you, I will surprise you and the audience in that we have a big percentage of women are encouraging football and really
football
behind
fans.
The football.
Yes. Now, hosting the African Cup of Nations here in Egypt is also an advantage for the Egyptian team, playing on home soil.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about that a bit.
Absolutely. Well, let's take it from all sides. Number one, it's a good chance for the Egyptian team to play in their homeland.
Yes.
To play in their homelands. Number two, it's a big challenge and responsibility as well.
Yes.
Number three, that they would like to win as they won in 2006. Number four, this is the 5th time that Egypt organizing such an event since we started in 1956 at the beginning, 59 or 56, I'm not sure.
1959, yes.
59, and then I think 74,
86, 2006.
and then
2006 when we won.
Yes, so this is you talking about the 5th time, which means that we are experienced enough, supposedly, to be able to do that, which I have no doubt on.
Lots of pressure on Mohamed Salah as usual?
Well, Mohamed Salah, of course, he has a lot of pressure, but I think he will manage this time because he wants to have the system to be able to manage this. Mohamed Salah, we are proud that he is there, of course. He made a historical achievement with being with his Liverpool team. He is already nominated to be the best player in the world. He is winner for the 2nd round as the footballer of the year of Africa for the 2nd consecutive time. So I think he has a lot of pressure inside himself, has a lot of pressure and a lot of, let me put it in another way, a lot of expectations from his homeland audience from Egypt. they are following him. He made the people to follow Liverpool and to follow the English League and the British League and so on and so forth, which is something very good for the outside and inside as well. He raised the hopes for the people with what he's doing, his achievement. But don't forget, he's not playing alone.
Yes, he has a full
He's playing
team.
with the team.
Yes.
And the full team are really having a great responsibility, not only to serve Mohamed Salah, but Mohamed Salah to serve his team.
Yes.
So it is not that we saying it is a one-man show responsibility, but he can add on some touches, and he needs the teamwork to be able to do that.
Yes.
He needs the good technique and good mechanics to be able to work it out with his team. He needs to understand and to cooperate and to be with his team all the time in a good way. He needs, of course, to be directed by his coach, would be the Egyptian national team coach, definitely, to use him in the best way and to use his team in the best way, using the opportunity that he's one of the members of the team.
Yes.
So it is a lot of
team effort.
Yeah, it is a lot of things that you can talk about to try to benefit out of it. But at the end of the day, I would like to say, we would like to congratulate him and congratulate Egypt and congratulate the Egyptian Football Association for having such a big star in the world now, related and promoting the image of Egypt, which is very good for all of us. And for instance, when we go and talk about any other sports, they will say, where are you from? They say, you're from Egypt. I say, yeah, Mo Salah. So it means that Mo Salah become
A symbol, really.
a sample, and then a role model all the way around, not only for the Egyptians but also for the others.
Let's talk a bit about now the as the president of the African Association of Sports Confederations. Let's talk a bit about sports in general. Egypt, lots of sports is being played in Egypt, a lot of different sporting activities, and Egypt really takes the lead in a lot. For example, squash, handball, volleyball, soccer, swimming. We have a lot of upcoming sports professionals, really, who are training and doing very well. Let's talk about sports in general in Africa and in Egypt.
Well, thank you for the question. Egypt is one of the main countries of Africa. We're lucky to start some of the sports.
Yes.
We're lucky to hold it is neighborhood and brothers and sisters from all Africa to help them to spread out the sports. Some of the other countries, of course, they were taking the chance and they were being even better, like the student is better than his professor, as we always say in the example. But what I wanted to say is that we are lucky enough in Egypt that we have now over 19 presidents of the African confederations from Egypt. And also we have overall in the all African confederations, which is 60 African confederations, we have 47 members, whether president, vice president, secretary generals, and members, and so on and so forth. All of them, all the presidents of the African confederations are helping a lot with the big deal to hold the African country. The government of Egypt is supporting, of course, through the Ministry of Youth and Sport and through the Prime Minister as well, and through His Excellency President Sisi, all the sport in Africa and all the African sports confederations in the country. I also would like to point out for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who is having a very good cooperation with the Ministry of Youth and Sport and helping in that for really promoting the sport in Africa through the Egyptian leaders of the sport. So this is a big role, because we are not, our role is not only that we are taking care of the sport, we are in charge of the sport in Africa technically. But our other partner is ANUCA, which is African National Olympic Committees Association, which is leading all the national Olympic committees of all Africa, which is 54 national Olympic committees. These are the other partner we have that we are together. We are the Olympic movement of Africa. Then the third part, which is very important for us, is the governments. The governments are represented by African Union Commission. The African Union Commission, which is our President Sisi will be the president of the AU from the 2019th. The meeting will, I think, will be at the mid of February.
Yes.
So this is very important, as we are already giving the continent, and now the role of the leader who is giving the continent all of this support, not only in the sport but also in the other segments, which start since quite some time ago, since President Sisi get the presidency of Egypt. So I think it is very important, as you know, and all our audience know, that the sport is a soft power. So if you use it in a proper way, you will have everything not as easy, but could be solved as easy.
Right, Major General, you spoke about technical support. When you speak about technical support, what do you mean, technically supporting sports in Africa?
Well, technical support, it means a lot. Number one, you cannot do any competition without the confederation concern of the sport. Like you're talking about football, now is dealing with all the football in the continent, leading all the football in the continent. Basketball, volleyball, triathlon, karate, everything. Even the Sports for All. Sports for All African Confederation has a big role. They are playing a very big role of how to promote and how to help new programs for the sport and so on and so forth, which is very, very important as well. We are not also just in charge of the technicals, which is managing all the competitions, managing all the group tournaments, like the All African Games, which is going to take part in Morocco from 20th of August to the beginning of September, which is the Youth All African Games was last year in Algeria. In May. Which is the Beach African Games is going to be in June in April in Cape Verde. And a lot, I mean, a lot of tournaments that we are doing. Not only organizing this, but we have a social responsibility. We have to take care and use the sport to try to help the other nations to be able to understand how important the sport is. If they do the sport, they will really avoid having a kind of diseases or whatever it is. They can be able to get over the plus all the illness or whatever it is, the bad infections and diseases that we already have in the continent. How can we get over it, and so on and so forth. So it is a big role for as technical partner in the continent for the sport.
Indeed. Now, a lot of African countries focus on sport from a very early stage. For example, in schools, sports are compulsory. In lots of schools, there's a certain timetable, there's a certain time every day for sports or afternoon activities that involve sports, etc. How important is that? And Egypt is working towards that as well, to include sports in the day-to-day activities and the day-to-day timetable of every school.
Well, the matter of fact, as I just wanted to indicate also, there is a big cooperation between the Ministry of Youth and Sport and the Ministry of Education and Ministry of Higher Education. So we have in the schools, we started in the schools to try to have such things like how can we teach the people the sport, and thanks to our President Sisi, that he said that the physical education is obligatory now in the schools, which means that it doesn't mean that everybody just go and make one day some exercise and so on and so forth. No, to teach the people how can they do the sport in a proper way, to teach the people how can they love the sport and be to put it as an obligation. It is kind of incentive to the people to play the sport, but a little bit incentive with power. So it is very important for you, for us, for everybody, for parents, for
children,
for the children and everything, for the generation. So you are building up a good vision. You are building up that how these people can be able, the children and their parents and so on and so forth, being able to get a really healthy life, a lifestyle, can be able to get over all the disease and everything.
I'm afraid we've run out of time, but Major General Ahmed Nasser, the President of the African Associations of Sports Confederations, I'd like to thank you very, very much, sir, for coming in this afternoon.
Thank you very much, NG, for having me here, and good luck with the Nile TV International.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, with that we wrap up today's edition of Kawi Local Time. We do hope you have enjoyed it. You're in the company of Angie Mira. Many thanks for watching.
سعيد ان انا
اتجوزتني ليه؟ فارس بيه؟
انت عاوز مننا ايه؟ تتجوز يا فارس. انا قررت سواء رضيت ولا ما رضيت. اخلص ولدي.
رفيع اخوك يا فارس، انا رسمت له صوره في خيالي، الصوره بتخوفني.
كمان مين يا كبيرنا اللي يخلينا نقعد مع خدامنا ونضيفهم؟ الواد اللي قدامك ده رفيع في السلطانيه. انت بتتكلم على التاريخ، انا بتكلم على المستقبل. لا
فارس ولدي ما خدكش.
انا مش ظالمي. انا مين عشان اعمل فيك كده؟
يا بابا مش قادره خلاص.
لازم هتتجوز.
انا حره بقى.
لا ما انتش حره.
جوزها يا ولد.
اظن محدش يخطب واحده من خطوبها. اول مره تناديني باسم،
بس كنت بقوله بيني وبين نفسي طول الوقت.
لكن انا عمري ما سمعتها منك ولا حتى مره واحده.
انا عمري ما قلتها بلساني، لكن قلتها بقلبي.